So, who is the most famous magician? I got a pretty good clue that if I say Harry Houdini, you all know who he is. So, what does he have to do with Halloween? Well, if you want to know, you've landed in the right spot. This is Screams for You, and I'm V. So, turn down those lights and lock those doors. Here's a scream you can't ignore. So Houdini was a great character, wasn't he? I mean, what do you know about him? There's all kinds of things about him that I really didn't know. There's the fact that he ran away from home when he was 12 and no one knows where he went or what he did. And he was gone for a whole entire year. How about the fact that he did tons of odd jobs when he was young to help support his family, like shine shoes and deliver newspapers? His first appearance on stage was when he was only 9 years old. And that was his first taste of kind of performing. You know, he was more of like a stagehand at that point, but that's when it started for him. Did you know that even though he may not have been the greatest like we think he is, that he made more of a name for himself because he was really good at doing publicity, which a lot of musicians and other people in entertainment just weren't that good at publicity yet, not unless it was a company. I mean, it was a long time ago. One of his best friends was Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of Sherlock Holmes. So that's really amazing, and that's actually how he got started in his trip on debunking spiritualism, because his friend believed so much, and Houdini at first really believed and really wanted to believe, but then he realized that some of the tricks they were using were some of the tricks that he used. And when he brought this to his friend's attention, it did put a little bit of a rift in their relationship, which, I could imagine. As Doyle really believed in the supernatural, he believed in everything about it, and he was really super into that stuff his whole entire life. And this is how he went about debunking spiritualism, or spiritualist, I guess I should say. So, what about his tricks? Well, these tricks at the time were some of the most daring things that anybody had ever seen. All the escapism stuff that he did was a lot of things that hadn't been done before and are still done to this day. Like feet upside down, put in a straight jacket and lowered into water and escaping. So those tricks have been around since him. He's pretty much the one who invented it, I guess you could say. Is the sad news of why Houdini makes it on our list for a tragedy that happened on Halloween. Because he died on Halloween in 1926. And he died from complications. What happened was a few days earlier, a college student challenged him to be punched in the stomach a whole bunch to prove his toughness. And of course, he agreed. But before Houdini had a chance to do any kind of preparation, he got punched right in the gut several times, very hard. And after this, he was in tons of pain. So it burst his appendix, which they think that his appendix was already infected when this happened, and that's why it caused his death. The student wasn't charged with anything, which, I mean, it was an accident, but you could also give the guy a chance to flex, you know? So, this was the cause of his death, but the crazy thing is that for a while it was really kind of a mystery, and they weren't really for sure how he died. They knew that his appendix had ruptured, but they didn't, medicine back then was still kind of a questionable thing where people just really don't know what's going on sometimes. Houdini did whisper his very last words to his brother, and they were, "I am tired of fighting. I guess this is how it's going to get me." And it's what he whispered to his brother's ear. And also, before his death, he made a pact with his wife that he would send her a code through a spiritualist if he could communicate from the other. He spent 10 years doing seances once a year trying to connect with her dead husband. And the code was Rosabelle Believe. But after 10 years, she said no man is worth waiting that long for. And she gave up. So, is there really an afterlife? Who knows? Maybe he was just trying to communicate with the wrong people. So, this is how our famous magician died. And his memory and his work still lives on as brightly today, I think, as it did then. There's hardly anyone who doesn't know his name. There's hardly anyone who doesn't know anything about him. And this is how our famous magician died. And his memory and his work still lives on as brightly today, I think, as it did then. There's hardly anyone who doesn't know his name. There's hardly anyone who doesn't know anything about him. And that concludes one of our 31 stories of Halloween. We are getting closer every story I tell. Hopefully you learned something new about the great magician Houdini, who died on Halloween. Have a creepy night.